Do I regret Nahida? Absolutely not. Now, let's go into it a little more in depth, because I would actually say she's gotten worse since she's come out. Now, why would I say that? Now, the reason why I say that Nahida is worse now is because she used to be on every single new DPS's team, and also those new DPS's were generally some of the best DPS's in the game. She had access to the strongest reactions in the game, and then once we got into Fontaine, they actually started stepping up their game again and started giving us characters who, you know, weren't reliant on danger reactions. Although Risley is a character that works great. But if we come over here and we can see, you know, Fiorina, Nevi, Arlecchino, I mean, even Hu Tao now is pretty good, and she got sort of a buff through Sinyun. However, there are a couple that came out and are pretty good with Nahida, right? We have Chloride here, and then we also have Risley. Although Risley, I mean, you can make the case that you don't want to use, you know, Nahida on there, but Nahida is a good option for him. But, you know, Nahida is best in slot on Chloride's team, basically. The real, you know, scenario here. It's not like we have Alhaitham still #1 in the game. He's top 3, right? At least. But Alhaitham is not top dog anymore. He's not far and away the best character in the game, and, you know, that hurts Nahida because she's his best partner, right? So that really does end up hurting Nahida in the long run. However, she's still incredibly good. It doesn't matter that she, you know, is now she's not useful on like the top 10 best characters. Oh, she's only 3 out of 10 or something. I don't know. I mean, you got Chloride, you got Alhaitham. That's at least 2 out of 10. But yeah, it's just, she's still really good. She's just, you know, it's going to happen with Fiorina too. Exactly what I'm saying here is going to happen with Fiorina too. As soon as the Pyro Archon comes out, Kinich, Mulaney, even maybe Shilonen are all going to work way better with the Pyro Archon than they do with Fiorina. I mean, Kinich is the only one who actually even uses Fiorina, really. It'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening with Fiorina, because it is a scenario of Fiorina is providing more than just her application, right? She is providing that damage buff, and she's also providing the off-field damage. Nahida wasn't really doing that. In order to receive a damage buff, you would have to get the Elemental Mastery buff, which can be gotten through other ways, right? It's just a part of, you know, 250 Elemental Mastery is a lot, but at the same time can be made up with other, you know, like Fiorina buff, right? Fiorina is doing way more off-field damage and then also giving damage bonus that is pretty high. You know, Nahida would hit like 40,000 damage. I mean, that's pretty good, but, you know, Fiorina's hitting like 60,000 damage on a Vaporize if you do those. And it just ends up being to the point where Nahida doesn't really do as much off-field damage, and she's not even providing as big of a buff to certain characters, right? So it will be interesting to see how Fiorina ages here. I don't know even if she's gonna really seem that bad comparatively to when she, you know, first came out, because, I mean, I would say she's gone up since she's come out, but she's starting to plateau because they're not really giving any new characters, like, you know, huge ways of working with her, like, you know, Risley and Nevi have, where they just outright drain their HP. You know, Chloride also messes with her HP too. So there's not a lot of characters that are specifically designed with Fiorina now, because we're looking into the future with the Pyro Archon, which are all designed, and the Pyro Archon will be designed for Kinich and stuff, so they can hit, you know, their damage numbers higher, right? So let's see. Yeah, this is the passive here. You know, maximum of 2 stacks, 320% of Kinich's attack, right? That works, and it's probably going to have the Pyro Archon proccing that, and we'll see how long, and we'll see how strong Kinich is going to look with the Pyro Archon. I'm imagining Kinich is going to look a lot better and may end up being like top 5 in the game, I would say. He might even be there right now. I don't know. But that's the only real issues that you can see in Nahida right now. It's not like she's a bad character. She's still a great character. That's the only issue I see with Nahida right now. She simply is just in basically the same character, you know, box that she was in when 4.0 started. She hasn't gotten new characters to use with, right? And that's something that, you know, Kazuha hasn't had an issue with, right? Kazuha will just buff whoever comes out, right? He already buffs Mulaney. I've seen people use him in Mulaney teams. I think Sucrose is better, but, you know, he's still usable in Mulaney teams. Whereas Nahida is technically usable in Mulaney teams, but generally you're better off running like 4 other options before Nahida, right? If I were to rank the supports in the game right now, it'd probably go Fiorina, either Kazuha or Shilonen, and then the third slot would be either Kazuha or Shilonen, then maybe Bennett. I might have Bennett at number 4, which would mean she's top 5, which is honestly kind of insane. Because I mean, I think I did overrate her a little bit, because I looked back and I was like, yeah, Nahida really hasn't gotten that many characters to work with. And I think that's really what this video is sort of about. Just Nahida, not really that many characters to work with. These are the only 2 characters where she's seriously able to provide some good value in their teams ever since the 3.0 updates have ceased, right? Because I don't think Mulaney is really going to get a big buff from Nahida, considering you have those other options. Whereas these 2 characters, you may not have those other options, right? Kazuha doesn't really help Risley work that well in a burn team, and listen to me, because of the way you have to set it up, right? In order to have Kazuha apply Pyro, you need him to swirl Cryo before that shortens the time that Risley actually has with the buff. It really starts messing with stuff, and it's like, at that point, why are you running Kazuha? And I think it's just a better overall time if you were to run Nahida there and give him 250 elemental mastery for his entire duration, because you will be able to give him through the entire duration, because this thing lasts for 15 seconds, which is pretty insane. And you can even make it last longer depending on how many Hydro characters you could have. 21 seconds just from having 1 Hydro character. That's insane. Why? That's so weird. But Chloride is a character who absolutely is getting massive value from having Nahida, right? The extra EM here, that literally, is triple my EM, if you add the 250 here, it would be massive for her. And that's not even considering her weapon, right? I've used Nahida without her weapon for a long time, and at this point, I would say her weapon is a lot better than her C1, which I think, it may have been debatable when she first came out, just due to how new she was. But looking at all the characters that we have now, the characters that want EM, you're probably better off DPS-wise going for her weapon over her C1, which is not the case for, if you get her C2. C2 would absolutely insane buff to damage overall, but that's a little more expensive. Oh, my mic is gonna fall. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to hold you guys up. All right, listen to me. Listen to my smooth, silky voice. Definitely not piercing your ears with, blood coming out of them. All right, whatever. So yeah, I don't even have her weapon and factoring in here, because I just have never used it. I believe it's only 40 elemental mastery that she gives, but it's not just 40 elemental mastery. It's also an overcapping of her elemental mastery, which would then allow you to switch over this to a crit rate hat, right? And instead of having this whole, elemental mastery here, you could just quickly come over here and you could grab a crit rate hat with an elemental mastery substat. And, oh, would you look at that? I have 89 elemental mastery on this crit rate hat. I'd easily be able to go ahead, swap the crit rate hat on, get some extra, buff from this, probably 24% crit rate, yeah. And then I would be able to have 70% crit rate on my Nahida, along with 1000 elemental mastery, which means she's giving 290 elemental mastery to our, friends. She's pretty strong. And for that reason, I think that she is a really good character. And I do think that she is nowhere near a character that I would say I would regret. I don't Albedo is a character that I can say I regret, because this guy is just not usable. He actually has a replacement. They made a replacement for Albedo. And I mean, you can make the argument for Imaginarium Theater, but even in Imaginarium Theater, I'm not that inclined to use Albedo, because he's not that good. This is something we'll go over on the Hu Tao Do I Regret video, because that's something where it's I would regret Hu Tao if I didn't have Imaginarium Theater. I'm going to be honest, because she just is not as strong as Arlecchino, which is completely the character I 10 times love more using. I love using that character more. It's just way easier. I don't have to worry about stamina ever. I just can make whatever team I want. I don't have to worry about vaporizes. I don't have to worry about anything with Arlecchino. As soon as I use Arlecchino, it's a breeze of the best air that you can have. It's pure oxygen, no carbon dioxide. That's what that is. And you don't have that sort of scenario with Nahida, right? I don't have another character that I sit there and I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad that I can use this character over Nahida. Nahida is not a character that holds you back ever. And it just doesn't happen, right? I thought, hey, maybe Nahida would be a character that holds Chloride back. Not the case. Just simply not the case. The reason for that being is Chloride has a short duration, so you're easily able to reapply Nahida's Dendro. Sinnoh, on the other hand, yeah, that'll be a character that I just regret Sinnoh in general. But Sinnoh, that's a his fault. But at the same time, it's a Nahida fault, because if you kill the enemies with Sinnoh and you don't have his, burst completely drained and, oh, we're ready to refresh the entire rotation, then it's going to be an issue, because you could end up having Nahida there. Now, C2 Shilonen on my account does sort of fix that with, decreasing his cooldown by 6. But hey, I don't even like Sinnoh to begin with. But yeah, that's just, it's something, right? Nahida, it's her one main issue is that she doesn't consistently apply Dendro if you don't reapply it to the enemies. And that's a big thing for her, right? That is the biggest thing. I honestly forgot about it until I thought about Sinnoh, because it's a big thing, but it doesn't even really occur that much, if I'm going to be honest. Like with Risley, it can occur. But a lot of the times with Risley, if I'm going to be running, Nahida, I'll also be running Toma and Bennett. And that'll be my team, because I need the interruption resistance for my Risley. Unless I run Shilonen, because then his interruption resistance gets a little more. But then also, I still need a Pyro Applicator, and I'm not going to use Shangling as a solo Pyro. I'll use Toma again. And what will Toma do? Still apply Pyro after I'm already done killing the enemy. So it's become even less of an issue the more that I've, sort of grown my account. And it's just an issue that if you encounter it, it's generally a big issue. But generally, you don't find yourself encountering it that much. Like, being completely honest, I don't remember the last time I've actually had Nahida have an issue with that. I've tried to show it in videos, and it's actually failed, because it's kind of hard to figure out when you're throwing into Abyss. It's kind of hard to just immediately kill, and then the Pyro or the burning reaction just screw you up so much. It's actually kind of hard to show. It's something that will matter eventually, probably. Who knows? Maybe the game dies before it ever matters. But it may matter eventually, and that is when Nahida will really fall off. But it comes to a point where you have to look at what's happening in game and see that, oh, it's just not happening. In theory, we could say Nahida's Dendro application sucks because she has to reapply her sigil, whatever it's called. But it just, like, for Sinnoh, that's the only character I've ever been able to seriously be like, that's the character that the Dendro application sucks with. That is the character. That's the only character that I've had issue with. Only one. Absolutely only one. Other than that, Nahida's Dendro application, never bad, honestly. I really do think that she's just, when you look at her and use her in game, she's just strong, and she's just really good. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.